Welcome once again to this edition of the show, Street Smart Lab Business Show, where we take on issues that has to do with supporting entrepreneurs in their business endeavors. Over time, you'll find lots of challenges out there, and it almost seems as though the entrepreneur must be versatile in so many areas for him or her to succeed. Yes, of course, but you don't have to be an expert in all fields to thrive in the elements that will help to get your business to that level you desire. So as it is, what we do is to get the professionals in those fields to talk to us about critical things that can be helpful, that can help to propel, that can help to change the course and bring the joy that we desire, at least if we are on the mission to ensure that the business vision is well integrated in the minds of the employees and everyone is on his or her game doing the best of what he can do. We should also not be distracted by quite a lot of other things that can easily derail. And that's one of the reasons why we bring to you at this show those discussions that can help you lessen the burden of other things that can be a form of distraction. Once you have the knowledge, the right knowledge, at best, even if you want to get things done in that specific area of knowledge, you'll be able to reach out to professionals, having learned those key things that you would need to be discussing and requesting support for. So having that knowledge across board is fantastic, but having to engage in each of those elements should not be what we should be burdening ourselves by the day. So welcome once again, and again we also want to welcome Mr. Tope Awolowo.
Thanks for having me.
He was here the last time with us, and he helped to give a good understanding to employees-employer relationship and the importance of human capital development. Like I've always maintained, and I will be reiterating again, there is no business without those who work in it. A business is existing because you have the employees. Even if you have to use robots and you use the current AI and technology that is advancing, people will build the technology and people will build the robots, and people will be the ones to also give the support in case there are technical failures. And also, there are no employees except there is a business. You can only be called an employee because you are working or you have a job somewhere to work with. So we both cannot survive or exist independently. Every one of them have one of things or the other to do to support themselves. So in today's discussion, we'll take it further, and key parts where we will touch on will be about the retention, the turnover, and some other areas that is going to help our businesses in terms of human capital development and employer relationship. Okay, so I'll start today with you helping us to highlight those key things that you have experienced and you know that are common with businesses with respect to why some businesses always have their employees, moving en masse. The first flight, they are out, right? Like we have most young people who are always looking forward to, jetting out of the country as it is today because of the current situation, the economy, and lots of other challenges are also those key reasons why you know that in some instances and in some businesses, those employees have been able to stay at least relatively for a good time. That helps the business to stabilize well, and ensure that things flow in the right direction.
Thank you for having me again. The first thing that comes to mind in terms of high employee turnover rates, I would like to look at it in twofold. The pre-pandemic situation and what we have since the pandemic, arrived. So pre-pandemic.
That's the COVID?
Pre-COVID, yes.
Okay.
Pre-2019. Businesses experiencing high employee turnover could be as a result of a number of factors ranging from employee dissatisfaction, maybe there's no clarity as to their tasks. Somebody comes in as a HR officer, for example, but he ends up doing marketing, doing sales, and he sees opportunity elsewhere where he can actually use his skills, directly for a single-handed task, so there'll be dissatisfaction. Another quick reason that could lead to dissatisfaction is toxic work environment. So it leads to the major issue of culture, organizational culture. So, and it boils down to what I reiterated the last time about the vision of the organization. The vision ties into one, the mission, the vision, the core values of the organization, and this all flows from the visionary, or the board, or whoever is dictating what direction the organization goes to. So these key factors form the organizational culture, and when we establish these things, we establish the vision, the mission, the core values, then we can now establish the objectives. What are the objectives? What are we chasing? Not only in terms of monetary, pursuits, not only in terms of profitability, but as a well-rounded organization. So when employees see all these things happening, okay, they call me at odd hours to turn in work. My boss expects me to come to work on my child's birthday. Having given notice ahead that I like that day off. My boss calls me when I'm on my vacation. Those are the issues that constitute toxic work environment. I don't have a good working relationship with my direct upline, with my team members. Everything is hush, 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 hush. So those all play into building that high turnover rate. So and it all ties down, boils down from the organizational culture. If the organization has a vision and a certain vision to be a certain way, there was a long while ago we did a study and we studied HP. We discovered that HP has a culture and they called it the HP way, and they were so proud of it to even couch it and term it away because it was something they were able to flaunt around so that everybody will see that we are superior to you, we do things better than you, we have a higher level of this and that. So if every organization can be intentional about their culture and say this is it and set it out before their employees such that the employees can easily say, even the competition is not offering me, these terms, these working conditions. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not just talking about the monetary rewards alone, perks and different things. I mean, we all hear about Google, how, if a Google staff dies, for example, the wife or the family still gets certain monies, So those are all good and it all ties into the culture. So entrepreneurs, businesses, large or small, we need to work on, our vision. And there was this post recently about, I think it was Netflix, where somebody's boss, Mr. Hayes' boss, walks in and says, "You're getting a salary raise." And Mr. Hayes was like, "Excuse me." And the boss had to explain to him that we just hired somebody else. He's going to be getting certain amount, and we don't want him earning more than you or earning the same thing as you because we value you. So we're helping your pay. So, that was like, the guy didn't even bargain, didn't negotiate for it, but because his organization and his bosses understood that, no, if he hears that somebody who just came in is earning more than he's earning, there's going to be trouble. He's going to be looking outward. So, those are ways that we can stem, the tide of high turnover. And of course, employees want to see a career path development. If they don't see it, maybe they've been there 1 year, 2 years, and they're not seeing any training, they're not seeing any development, they're not seeing any promotion, they're not seeing any value being added to them. They're just the ones adding value to the organization, And like I said, like I keep saying, not just monetary. You know, the guy wants to learn something else, wants to work in another department, wants to enlarge his skill base. You know, he wants to interact with more people, wants to network, but he's just sitting at the table doing menial job. He's not even optimizing the skills he told you about at the interview. You know, so he's going to be looking out. So now let's look at it on the post-pandemic or since the pandemic. Now we had the great, what's it called in America, where we had a lot of people resigning, the great resignations, you know, and that can directly be tied to the generational thing. We heard the Gen Zs have a different way of looking at work. There's so many vacancies. Airlines are canceling flights because they are short-staffed. Embassies, everywhere, it's mad, you know. So that's is something that's happened upon all of us. So nobody has come out to say this is the rule, this is the one-size-fits-all solution to all of this. No, we are battling it day by day as they come. Now, a certain generation might feel hard done by because, you know, certain bosses, the Jeff Bezos or all the billionaires that have tripled their net worth since the pandemic. And meanwhile, the customer-facing employees are not better off, you know. So that's the major crux of the great resignation. But I'm just saying, it's time for entrepreneurs, it's time for businesses to look inwards, look at their culture, look at their corporate culture, and make it all-encompassing. Now, don't let us just assign fat remunerations for directors and those at the top alone. Let's make it well-rounded. There's a guy I follow on social media, I can't remember his name now. He's the CEO of a company and he has raised the salary of his team members. I think the lowest earning person is earning like 70,000 USD in his organization because he values his team members and he will not want any of them to go anywhere. So he keeps raising everybody's pay. There's no great discrepancy between management and the next guy. So that's their own corporate culture. I want to compensate everybody, you know, justifiably, such that nobody is looking house or feeling hard done by. So we really need to work on our culture and listen more to our people. If the people are saying this, we need to take them on board and see what we can do.
So, but you know, with most of these things you've said, they sound more like if you are not as big as these companies, you might not be able to get these things well crafted out. You can't, even the pay, you might not be able to even give the kind of pay you desire because your company size is that small, or you look at the current realities around and you feel that, well, the best I can even offer because even the economic situation is not helping matters. So, I mean, what would I do? So what would be your advice to businesses? I mean, SMEs is out there, especially that they can be able to put into practice some of these things, however how small the size of the businesses.
It's very, very, very. It's a very, very challenging time. But I keep saying, create a very good relationship and rapport with your team members. Let them know what's going on, what's the state of the business, you know, what phase the business is in right now, what the struggles, what the challenges are. Some will still leave in spite of, you know, giving them, opening up the book and the situation. But the ones that will stay because they believe in the vision and the business. So there's no guarantee that, you know, opening up and employee relations will salvage, you know, the high rate of staff turnover. But if you put these things in place, it's going to stem the exit rate. The times are hard globally. That's a fact. But like we've been saying in the first edition and in this edition, having discussions with your team members, you know, will go a long way to help. Opening up to tell them this is the situation. Some organizations have tried different strategies. They've done, they've reduced salary, they've staggered salary. Some have put employees on furlough. You know, they keep them in a state of what's it called, incubation, so that when things pick up, they come back. You know, so different strategies have been. So when you sit your team members down as a head of a small business, you know, and you tell them this is it, and they can see it, not that you are telling them something different from what they can see, because that's also another factor. If you tell them the way it is and they can see that that's the way it is, the ones that will stay will stay. The ones that will go will go. You can't hold them down because they also have families and to take care of. So from there, you use what you have to forge on as an entrepreneur. So, but the critical thing is carrying your team members along, carrying your employees along every step of the way.
Okay. So, what would you now call the reflection of what a business is? A business a reflection of its culture, a reflection of the human, the employees, the human capital, way, human capital development. Is it a reflection of the goals, of the vision? Is it a reflection of how well the business owner is able to stand his ground and drive that? What would you say? Because now we've been able to identify the fact that the business survival is dependent on both the employer and the employee, right? But again, they don't work in isolation. And we've talked about the human capital. What's the reflection of a business like?
All those factors all key into the culture, who the leaders are, what their values are, what their priorities are. All those things key into the culture that is prevalent in all the respective organizations out there. Even in family units, what's the culture there? What's their core value? If their core value is to steal, is to tell lies, it's who they are. So that will also reflect in the culture of the leader, and that will reflect in the culture of how they do things in the workplace. So all those factors key into what the culture there is. It's not always written, but if you go to an organization to understudy them, spend 1 day, you pick up one thing. Spend 2 days, you pick up something. By the time you spend a week, you can say 1, 2, 3 things about the organization, that this is what they are. They are upright, they are not upright. You'll be able to say certain things. And it all flows down from the top. Now, if it's not flowing down from the top, it's somewhere beneath, then somebody who is responsible for that unit is not doing his job. So, because a lower unit down there cannot be so responsible as to tarnishing the image of your organization or channeling the direction your organization will go into. Somebody has to be responsible for nipping that in the bud. If that goes on for so long, then a supervisor or a line manager there is at fault. But speaking generally, it flows from the top. So if there's any way a company is behaving, an organization is behaving, it's a reflection of who's directing it, and it's a reflection of the culture that is prevalent there.
Okay, fantastic. So earlier on, I asked about the business entity generally, the kind of size, how it determines a lot of things. And from what we have discussed now, it looks obvious that there are some critical things that are important. Every business must. But let's look at the business or businesses that are unable to have each of these departmental setup. You can't have the HR setup. You can't have the accounting department, but you are surviving as a business and you are doing well gradually. One, is that a good thing to do where you are unable to get all those other departmental stuffs on board so that perhaps it can even help better? Because someone was like, I'm doing all my business. Do I burden myself? And these things may look as additional cost. Two, for those who might be desirous of this and say, I want to take it a little bit, further, right? But again, I'm not sure we will be able to sustain it this way. What would be your advice to businesses generally that, irrespective of your size, you can still be able to bring on board the best practices? Is it by establishing those units now, getting people engaged as maybe on contracts, having to employ people in-house or something? What would be your advice?
First off, it's not a good idea for one man to be the one handling all of those functions, all of those responsibilities. The technology age we are in right now also affords us, simple technologies that we can lean in. I heard there are accounting softwares that small businesses can use. I hear there are HR softwares. I do not know how workable some of these things are, but it's worth a try. Entrepreneurs out there, small business owners out there can lean into using technology. And I'm sure there are businesses out there also who cater to small businesses. I know of a firm who does HR for small businesses. They help you set up all your documentation, offer letters, contract of employment, job description documents. So everything documentation, they'll handle it. So you don't have to bother about that. Yeah, it comes at a fee, but I mean, if you can come to an agreement, that whole function is taken off your neck as an entrepreneur. And I'm sure there are other services like that, accounting, that can be outsourced for a fee. So the key thing there is once the mind of the entrepreneur is off it, somebody is handling it for him, even though for him or for her, even though he's going to pay a fee, he can focus on the main thing, So I strongly recommend that. And some of them are free. Some of them are, maybe for a trial period, then after a while you pay, So I strongly suggest entrepreneurs key into such things. And the other thing is mentoring, because if you don't talk to people who have gone ahead of you, you'll be going round and round in circles. And that's one of the great things Street Smart Lab is offering here. Street Smart Lab is offering here mentorship, guidance, to handhold you, through all these challenges. So mentorship, guidance from people who have gone ahead of you, from people who are offering the services around you. So it's not recommended for anybody, one person, to handle all those functions. I mean, after a while, if you do it for some time and you succeed, after a while, your body, so it's not advisable. So, and you know what they say, 2 good heads are better than 1. So always reach out to people. If you don't know somebody directly who's in your industry, who's doing what you're doing, reach out to other people, seek advice, gather information. In the multitude of counsel, there's safety, gather information, and from there, we'll move to the next level.
What would be your final take to entrepreneurs out there and employees out there also?
It's no doubt challenging, especially running a business in this part of the world. But it's not to say it's not doable. Out of I think every 10 businesses, maybe 5 make it up to the 5th year, maybe 2 make it up to the 10th year. I want you to think about those 2 that make it up to the 10th year. That could be you. Could be you. You look at the great stories, the Dangotes and the likes. Everybody, we are all in this challenge. Though some of them have leverage, but I mean, just think about it. That the 2 that make it up to the 10th year, I want to be part of that. So that's it.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Mr. Awolowo.
Thanks for having me.
You've helped us and you've done good justice to the issue of human capital development, employees, employers, relationship, to give us that right knowledge that if we get it very right with our employment, with our employees, and as business owners, we also work with the right information, we can make the best of what our colleagues as the employees can offer and help the business do so well. And like you've heard, he also touched on it. You don't have to struggle with all these things all out there. If you can look out around you and look out for many of these businesses that offer these services in terms of the apps that are out there, the technology that have been provided, and even if you don't, maybe be companies that are out there that can also provide some of these things. But of course, if you don't know, you can always reach out to us. You can always reach out to us at support@streetsmartlab.com, and we can link you up with some of these professionals that come on board here to have a discussion and talk about businesses. They've gone through it, they have the experience, they have the network of the kind of people that can help, or the kind of businesses that can help. And you can be sure that you can't miss it when you put the trust in the fact that they will help you to either get those that will give you the right services, or they themselves can offer the services. That's if it's not that their hands are full, okay? Because it's not in all cases you have people or you have professionals that you reach out to and they'll be able to take on everything. Sometimes they might have so much in their hands and they may want to just refer you to people all around. So don't struggle with all these things all out there. You reach out and get your business. Like he said, let your business be those two that will survive after the 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Let your business be among those two or among those 5 that will survive. It's possible, it's doable if we set our hearts to it. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Awolowo, we appreciate your coming around.
Thank you for having me.
Till we'll come your way next time, bringing on board great discussions in our Street Smart Lab Business Show. I am yours sincerely, Adeyiga Awomuti, and we are committed towards the smartest you and the smartest of your business. Thank you.